Let's now welcome Dr. Azar Jammine, Director and Chief Economist at Econometrix. Dr. Jammine, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. So the High Court not only suspended then the VAT hike, it also set aside, as we've heard there, the resolution of the National Assembly adopting the report of the Joint Standing Committee on Finance on the fiscal framework and revenue proposal adopted earlier this month. Just let's have your reaction to this ruling, including any implications to the business community, as we heard there from the SARS Commissioner, that would have had to affect, their VAT systems too.
Well, certainly, I think from an administrative point of view, the issue is a bit of a hassle. It's going to be slightly problematical for businesses to actually correct their systems in order to be able to cope with the multiple changes that we are now seeing. But from a broader economic point of view, I think most of society welcomes this development, and basically it puts the onus on the government to find other ways of actually raising what they estimate to be 25 billion rand per year. It's not a huge amount of money in the context of the entire budget of 2.5 trillion rand. And certainly ways can be seen. I heard that the head of the portfolio Appropriations Committee, Zongia Zozibi, was quoted as saying that if they look hard, they could probably find 100 billion rands worth of savings over the next few years. So let's wait to see how that happens. But in the short term, yes, there is going to be a little bit of confusion. But, in most purchases, 0.5% is not going to really cripple consumers either way. And they will have to find ways of getting that, recouping that money if it has been charged to them.
Yeah, I mean, in the main, a number of political parties, as well as, of course, businesses and individuals, have welcomed this move, not only by the minister who announced it last week, to suspend the VAT increase, but also now the court ruling to suspend it. The EFF wants to force Parliament to reset the 2025 budget process. What would that entail? I mean, just having to reset that entire process.
I think there probably are many different ways of envisaging what resetting the whole budget process is. There is a lot of sense in the budget being rehashed to some degree, in that since the 19th of February, when the first budget was presented, a lot of changes have happened in the world economy, with the Americans introducing that horrific tariff regime on everyone. There is a risk of a sharp slowdown in global economic activity compared with what was being anticipated back in February. And this will obviously reverberate on South Africa's own economic growth. And as a consequence, it is really essential in many ways, if you want to have accurate budgeting, to rehash the calculations upon which that budget was done, and to work out the parameters in terms of the deficits and the borrowing requirement, etc. So it would make sense for the entire budget to be presented a third time. But in terms of rehashing the whole thing, I mean, most of the budgetary calculations probably will have already been made by Treasury. What is really needed now is a readjustment in line with an adjustment to the growth rate assumed for the coming year, which is most likely to be down about nearly 1% compared with what had been forecast previously. So it would make sense to present a lot of those numbers again, taking into account the reality of what is happening globally and domestically.
And very quickly, I just want to look at, the alternatives to this shortfall. I mean, Treasury has consistently been saying that the medium-term revenue shortfall is about 75 billion rand. So just going back to what the court then ruled, that the suspension is pending passing of legislation regulating the VAT rates by Parliament, or the final then determination, determination of whether the VAT Act is constitutional or not, notwithstanding, of course, the Finance Minister's announcement last week to suspend VAT. In his responding affidavit, he did say that the proposed VAT increase was considered less detrimental to economic growth and employment than alternatives examined by National Treasury. What alternatives could we possibly be looking at now?
Well, the alternatives, and I don't have the details, are finding savings, getting rid of corruption and wasteful expenditure that might otherwise have been incurred. Now, admittedly, in the very short term, it's going to be quite a challenge to find those, but that is the nature of the exercise and why one should actually welcome this situation, because after many, many years of people warning the government it cannot carry on spending the way it's been doing, we now have a situation in which it is going to be forced to do so willy-nilly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Dr. Azar Jammine. He is the Director and Chief Economist at Econometrix.